Hi, David Odell here with Odell Complete Concrete. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be removing the original asphalt that came with this house. It's approximately 65 years old, this asphalt, so they got a lot of use out of it. Normally they don't last that long, but an indication that this is really good soil, good climate conditions, and that's the reason it lasted so long. Soil, climate, those kind of things make a difference. So knowing that, I won't need to put any base underneath the new concrete that we're going to be putting in here. Here's the MX fuel cutoffs off from Milwaukee. We will be doing a contest at the end of this video. We're going to use the Stihl 14-inch against this Milwaukee and see which one gets the most cutting done the quickest in a certain fixed amount of time. And then we'll show that whole competition at the end of this video. So we're also widening the driveway here. We're going to leave the apron approach in there. What I'll do is wrap some foam. I'm going to put some expansion foam around the edge of this apron approach to pour against. That way the transition from the vehicles from the approach to the driveway, it doesn't transfer that bounce from one piece of concrete to the next. Like if they're abutted against one another, the new concrete and the old right here with vehicle traffic, there's a good chance you could get a chip, or your concrete could spall on the edges by virtue of them rubbing together and bouncing a little bit as you transfer the weight from one to the other. So with the foam, we're going to get rid of that problem from happening. So after the demo, we did a little pressure washing, get this cleaned up real nice for the pour. We actually added about 8 feet to the width of this driveway because we widened the other side as well. It was initially 16-foot wide driveway. Now we're at about 23 feet. We went 2.5 feet to the right and about 5 feet to the left. So this is going to accommodate two normal passenger vehicles really easily now, and still have room to exit the doors without banging them into another. Like if you have 2 cars up here, you can open the door, walk out without banging doors together, and still have plenty of space to bring the trash cans out to the street without having to work around the vehicles or anything. So that's why you want to widen these. This is the 3M adhesive Super 77. The way I get this stuff to stick on here really well, first I swept the edge of the concrete. I used just a typical broom, swept all the loose dirt and debris off of it. Then I sprayed the Super 7 on there, 77, spray that on there. Also I sprayed the foam as well, and then let it set for a couple minutes, and then it presses on there like a contact cement. You can water the dirt, you can do a lot of things to this, and it's not going to come off. It's not going to come off overnight. It just stays right where you put it. In the old days, you'd see concrete nails going into the side of this approach with felt expansion paper. That's the old system. And it's not much fun when you have nails flying around and they're about 1 inch long and your fingers are wider than the nail and you're trying to hit it and you end up hitting your finger more than the nail. This takes all that out of the equation when you're doing expansion foam. This is just a standard 2x4 setup, although this driveway went in really deep and we ran into some problems because we figured we were going to make this with one load. It's really only about 640 square feet, you know, but we got 10 yards, so we should have been able to go 800. We got the concrete from Robertson's, which I didn't know where it was going to come out of because we got an independent, and they stopped using Robertson's many years ago for load shortage problems. And I think that's what happened here. And then so we were about 1.5 yards short And I thought, man, that didn't seem like 10. That felt like more like 9. And getting a cleanup load was challenging, through an independent especially, because they got other jobs they want to do. So they don't have a whole fleet of trucks to call and say, hey, when you get, send another truck over. So we waited about 2 hours for the cleanup. You'll get to see all that. And it worked out, but it was a lot harder than it had to be. Running the plate compactor on here, and it started to stick to the dirt because I oversaturated it. So what I have to do now is just wait about another 30 minutes and then fire up the compactor again. So my brother decided to hook a rope to the front of the plate compactor and drag it through, which that helped get it through here a little quicker, because there was a lot of resistance with this particular type of dirt. When wet, it was sticky because it hadn't seen water in so long. Now, if this was saturated a good 6 inches deep or 8 inches deep, just from the water letting it soak in, then it wouldn't have been sticky. But when you only get the top 1 inch wet, it peels off when you step on it. We're using 3/8 steel rebar here. We're setting them at 2-foot centers. Using a DeWalt 9-inch cordless to do my cuts, which is a real nice tool to cut steel with. Because of the length of the tool, you can cut it without really having to bend over. You can one-hand it and just let the weight of the tool drop down on it. Standard tie wire procedures on this. No zip ties, no rebar tire, just old school style, which is foolproof, and it always works. Those are my screet pins right there in the middle. I just got a wood stake 2.5 inch with a 16 penny through it at grade to ride that overhead on top of. And now we're using a 12-foot aluminum screed. We just duct tape an ear on that to hang on that overhead. This did go in a little deep, however, and I calced it out. I would have still made it at 5 inches deep with 10. So I actually purposely graded and set elevations at that depth just so I could make this particular job on one load. But we still came up short, and it wasn't just a little bit short. It was like a good 1.5 yards short. So that was really unusual. And I think we'd had a short load basically. In other words, we paid for 10 and we got 9. And that's not that uncommon really, especially when you're worried about road limits and weight limits. It's by just loading 9 into the trucks, you're playing it safe that you're not going to get a ticket for being over the weight on the road. So 9 could be a common practice rather than sending out 10, especially with buildup in the barrel. As we rotted it out, I'm on the bull float. Doug and Juan are doing the rodding or screeding, and I'm running the 4-foot wood bull float. And I'm running it perpendicular to the rod, if you'll notice that. And that's kind of crucial if you want a good flat slab. And then once you run it this direction, you can also run it the other direction, just to really get it as flat as possible. So this driveway at 5 inches deep is a really good design driveway with the rebar, and this particular mix is a 3000 psi. So we got a really good design here that's going to last, you know, a lifetime or a couple generations at least. However, I heard that the Roman concrete, what they built in Rome, was a different blend. It actually outlasts the concrete that we actually make today. And nobody knows the exact recipe they used. It's still being you know, explored how they did it with a lot of different variations. No one's got the exact ingredient yet, but that's how short we were. We got that little corner there, and then we got the widening of the driveway on the other side to along the side of the apron approach. So we're a yard and a half short on a 640 square footer. You know, kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh, by the way, the pump, we had a tailgate. I don't know if you noticed that, but the pump stalled out. And I think he thought it was clogged. I think it just stalled out. And then, so we tailgated the rest. We got the furthest part away from the street with the pump. And then we just started dumping it out of the chute just to get it there. Here's a 1/2 inch. This are we're using here's your Arizona. They call this the Arizona joiner. Very forgiving, really easy to use. Like if you're a beginner and you want to joint concrete, this is the one you want to buy. Is the Arizonas. Really easy to use, easy to keep straight. You can't really go wrong with them. What happens during this waiting for the cleanup, as I was explaining earlier about the using an independent and not having the resources to get a cleanup load, what happens is the concrete's setting up. We got this thing, the first load's completely broomed and curing compound out. In other words, it's rock hard by the time the second load gets here. And what I did is to marry these two products, these two pours together, I used concrete glue. And you may see that as I pour it, right when the truck gets here, I pour concrete glue on that cold joint, and then we marry them together. And it worked like a charm. Also, I kept spraying the concrete with a water hose throughout the entire waiting process. We went ahead and wet jointed all these. A lot of times you'll see me saw cutting, but on something like this, when you have so much easy access, it's really easy to run pull tools. When you get in those tight areas or you got a lot of bushes and walls around you, you're not running pull tools very easily. So you'll saw cut in those cases. But in this particular case, you could work the whole thing from the perimeter. Juan's out there on the knee boards. I'm running the funny trowel. Here's your funny trowel here. Basically, our joint pattern is right off the middle of the garage door, and then we just split it up equally. These squares turned out to be about 8 feet by 10 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood. There's Doug, my brother's brooming it right now. He's running the green bristle nylon broom. Here's Juan with his DeWalt vibrator, cordless. And I think it wasn't working very well. But he tried to loosen up that edge a little bit for the next load. Good idea. As soon as we got that cleanup in place, I went immediately out on the sliders along that cold joint, because it's really crucial that you get these cold joints flat and flush together, because that's where you're going to see it if you don't really address that. So you really got to take your time on these cold joints when you get them, getting them flat. And it really starts with how flat that concrete is, your first pour. If that's really flat and then you pour the next one up to it, they're going to come together nicely. But if you leave a bad unlevel concrete edge there that you have to work back to, then it's really hard to get them to blend smoothly. And you're going to see some bumps in it, but we took our time and got it right. Also, we sprayed curing compound on the whole thing, and it's important to do that whenever you're we're probably 85, 90 degrees out here. This is in West Covina, by the way, California. Real nice area. Notice we have a beautiful finish already. And I've already went back to this job a month later just to see how well the two loads married together, and the curing colors. And you never see it. You never know that we had that little issue. And it won't crack there. Some people say, well, it's going to crack there. Well, it's really not going to crack there because it has the rebar in there, and it's joining both together, so it can't crack there. All right, that about wraps up the concrete pouring aspect of it. Now we're going to get into the competition between the Stihl and the Milwaukee, and you're going to find out which one I think is best. Okay, so basically what's going to happen, my brother's going to have the stopwatch. Right when I start cutting, he'll start it. Then when it reaches 3 minutes, he's going to tell me to stop. Then we're going to use the other saw the exact same way. Then we're going to measure what distance we actually cut for each saw to see who the winner is. Let's do it! Tell me when! Back up a little. Give me 3 minutes!
Ready?
3 minutes on the clock!
Go! I'm gonna just stop it right there. You already did over half in 2:16.
All right, folks. Okay, 2 minutes, 16 seconds. We've cut half of this entry, so that's 8 feet approximately. Well, we'll sweep this clear, get an exact measurement. We'll start the other saw from where this one left off. We'll go the other direction. And we're good. This thing cut, it felt really good, I gotta tell you.
That thing cut fast.
It cut fast.
Real
fast.
fast.
I don't think the steel's gonna keep up, to be honest.
It won't eat.
But I want to find out to be sure. This cut, it's right here. We got,
There we go.
6'7". So we didn't do this halfway. We're gonna run 2 minutes and 16 seconds, same as the other saw. Because we didn't really get halfway, which would have been 8 feet. We're at almost 7. So we're gonna go time only. Go! Now, the moment of truth, folks. All I have to do is measure from this pencil mark to where I stop. That's 2 minutes, 16 seconds with the still. From that pencil mark to the end of this garage opening, that's the big boy Milwaukee. Let's take a measurement. Let's find the truth. Let's measure the original cut.
Right at 80.
Boy Milwaukee. Right here. Well, this
80.
right here.
80. Right here.
80 inches. Okay, 80 inches. Let's check out what that steel can do. Old reliable for the last who knows how many years. But that's
30
only
inches less.
30 inches less. 30 inches, that's your dare. We got 50 for the steel, we got 80 for the Milwaukee, and to tell you the truth, this felt more effortless.
Hell
I
yeah.
didn't have to push, I didn't feel the vibration, my ears weren't ringing. I mean, this is a no-brainer, really. This is what you want in your tool, but you want the Milwaukee. If you're gonna cut stuff, cut with this. Get yourself a couple batteries, rotate them, you're good to go. This is my tool of choice now.
Yeah.
So that's a wrap up. Anyway, if you like these videos, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification button. That way you'll be notified on the next upload. And give me a like on this video. Hit that button as well. That way maybe we can generate some views possibly. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.